Before we start today's story, we would like to inform you that a friend of ours has started a YouTube channel where he has picked up the story, A Sniper's Fight for Survival, and has put up a different version of the story. Please head out to his channel. The link is in the description box. So, head over there and help with a like and a subscribe. Now let's start the story. Ugh, seriously? Nina groaned, slumping against her front door and lightly knocking the back of her head against it. Locked yourself out after checking the mail? Huh? Logan called from his doorway across the hall, chuckling. I thought you kept a spare key under the mat for situations like this. I did, Nina pouted, staring down at her shoes. But I used it yesterday and forgot to put it back. Good thing I made you give me a copy. Logan laughed, disappearing into his apartment to grab the extra key. I'm starting to think getting my master's degree is overrated, Nina muttered. Geez, can I at least step out of my apartment before the existential crisis? Logan teased, returning to unlock her door. Sorry. So, what's the problem this time? I've got this paper due in 2 days and I'm completely stuck. Why am I even doing this? I have a good job. All this master's is doing is killing my social life and making me a zombie at work because of these stupid night classes. Logan blinked, surprised she managed to get that all out in one breath. She's really stressed this time, he thought. When's the last time you left your apartment for anything other than work, class, or grabbing the mail? He asked, following her inside. What month is it? Nina shot back with a tired smirk. Logan burst out laughing. Okay, that's it. Give me back my key. Where's your spare? Put it under the mat where it belongs. Grab your keys, and come on. We're going out for breakfast, and then we're taking a long walk to clear your head. Did you not hear me? I've got a paper due Monday night, and I have writer's block. I don't have time for this. You don't have time not to. Logan shot back. Now, are you coming willingly, or am I going to have to carry you? Without waiting for more protest, Logan steered Nina out of her apartment and into his car, driving to a quiet little breakfast spot that served omelets exactly how she liked them. Happy now? Nina grumbled, sounding like a kid forced to finish her vegetables. But deep down, she couldn't stay mad at Logan for long. They'd become fast friends 5 years ago, and he'd been her rock through the chaos of her master's program. I'm happy you finally fed that brain of yours. Logan grinned. Now, let's get that gray matter moving with a nice walk. Groaning but secretly grateful, Nina let Logan drag her out of the diner. When they got back to their apartment complex, he led her down the winding path behind the building, determined to help her shake off the stress. As they went walking, Logan began to ask Nina questions regarding work and her classes in general, and then about her paper. At what became the halfway point of their walk, Nina had a breakthrough. That's it. I was looking at the project from the wrong perspective. Nina jumped in place and began punching the air in triumph. What would you do differently? The friends continued their walk back to their apartments. All the while, Logan asked Nina probing questions regarding her new enlightenment, so she wouldn't forget her train of thought. Once home, he watched as Nina marched through her door ready to tackle her paper, victorious over her writer's block. Logan went across the hall to his apartment with a smile on his face. As he made himself some coffee, Logan still wore that smile. Fiona would be so proud of me, he thought. He sat down at the kitchen table with his coffee and allowed his mind to wander. His sister was the smarter of the two O'Shea children. Words and numbers always seemed to come easier to her. Logan was better with the sciences and, as it turned out, with the culinary arts, much to the dismay of his father. Whenever Logan was having trouble writing a paper for school, Fiona was right there helping him sort out his thoughts. She would bring him to the kitchen and ask him to make her a snack. As he was doing this, she would talk with him, just as he had done with Nina. Fiona would first ask Logan about his girlfriend or the latest movie, and then turn the conversation around to school, and then to the class at hand. Once she was there, she would gently coerce the assignment out of Logan, asking questions that would help him get his thoughts in order. Inevitably, Fiona got a nice snack as payment for her services, and Logan got a better grade on his assignment. As he washed out his coffee mug and set it in the strainer, he said a silent prayer of thanks to his Fiona for all that she had done for him and all that she continued to do. Later that evening, Logan checked in on Nina. How's it coming? Logan asked as Nina opened the door. Great. I've just got to document a couple more references, spell check, and proofread, and it should be ready for Monday. Nina left Logan in her doorway while she moved back to her desk. Good news. Okay, get your coat. Logan invited himself in and let the door close behind him. Why? Because it's getting chilly now that it's dark out, and I don't want you getting sick before you turn your paper in. I don't need a weather report, Logan. Why do I need my coat? Where am I going? You're taking me out to dinner. I am? Yes. Why? Because you're grateful for my help on your paper, and it's my birthday. I am grateful and happy birthday, but I don't have any money to take you out to celebrate. I don't get paid until next week. That's okay. I'm buying. But if I'm taking you out, shouldn't I buy? My mom would have my neck if I ever let a woman pay for my dinner. Why don't I make dinner instead? I've tasted your cooking. Logan dodged the balled-up paper that Nina threw at his head. And you've been holed up here all day. You need to change a venue for a few hours. I went out this morning, remember? Besides, I'm not ready. I told you I have to finish documenting my references, spell check, and proofread. I remember. Can I get a rain check? On my birthday? It only comes around once a year. Please? Where are the references you need to document? Nina pointed to the list on the top of a stack of papers by her elbow. All you have to do is type them in. Don't you type, like, over 50 words a minute? Spell checking will take no time, he continued, peering over her shoulder onto the computer screen. You've already set it to autocorrect. Proofing can wait until tomorrow, after a good night's sleep and a rested pair of eyes, and I can add a second set. So take a shower and get cleaned up. I'll be back in 45 minutes to get you. What if I don't open the door? I'll use my key. Logan flashed his mischievous Irish grin and winked at her as he left. 45 minutes on the dot, Logan was back at Nina's door. He knocked once, and there was no answer. Just as he was about to knock a second time, Nina swung open the door. Logan had to stop for a minute to catch his breath. He had seen Nina wearing clothes for many occasions. Business, casual, and even party. But she looked totally different tonight. Classy was the word that came to Logan's mind. I hope I'm dressed okay. Nina was tentative, mistaking Logan's silence for disapproval. You never told me where we were going. I just figured it would be to someplace a little more upper class. Sorry. You look great. Yeah, you are definitely dressed right. Logan couldn't figure out why his throat felt dry. The couple enjoyed a superb meal with all the trimmings. After they finished, Logan escorted Nina to an empty table in the lounge area adjacent to the restaurant where they could continue their conversation. What is Emily going to think about you being out with me on a Saturday night, and on your birthday no less? Won't she be a little put out? She's already put out of the picture. We broke up about 2 weeks ago. I'm sorry. It goes to show just how out of the loop I've been. I tell you, it makes me wonder why I'm even trying for my master's. I'm not sure it's all worth it. You know it will be. It doesn't bother me that you didn't know about Emily and me. You've had other things on your plate lately. And as you can tell, it doesn't bother me that Emily is out of the picture. She was starting to get too possessive anyway. I just should have been there. You dropped everything when Chris and I had that big fight and broke up. Another result of my master's, by the way. I should have been there for you. I was there for you because that a-hole started that whole incident in the hallway. Masters or not, you're better off without him. But I still wouldn't worry about me. You're here now helping me celebrate my birthday. Want to dance? Just then, the band played a slow song. Logan led Nina to the floor where they danced a number of dances, both slow and fast. They continued to talk and laugh the night away. Thanks so much for a wonderful night, Logan began, after walking Nina back to her door. I can't remember having as much fun celebrating my birthday or being in such fantastic company. Fantastic company, huh? Well, you're welcome. Nina wrapped her arms around Logan's waist. Happy birthday, friend. Logan wrapped his arms around her and held her tightly to his body, nestling her head under his chin. He bent down and placed a kiss on the top of her head before letting her go inside her apartment. Tuesday evening, the neighbors met up at the mailboxes. How did class go last night? Good. Thanks for helping me proof on Sunday. I turned in my paper on time, and I should have it back in a week or two. I've got a test in my class tomorrow night. How many more classes do you need to take? These are it. If all goes well, I should be done with classes this winter. That will just leave me to finish my thesis and get it submitted. I'm hoping to be totally done by late spring. We'll have to do something special then. Nina and Logan both got wrapped up in their schedules. Nina toiled additional hours on a project for work while Logan clocked additional hours due to special party requests at the restaurant. 2 weeks had passed when Nina knocked on Logan's door. Hey, what's up? Logan noticed Nina standing smugly with her hands behind her back. I brought you something. Can I come in? Let me guess. Sniff, you got your paper back. That's right, she answered as she entered his apartment. And, Sniff, you got a good grade on it, too. Congratulations. How did you know? Nina placed the bag on the table while giving Logan a suspicious look. Getting out plates and utensils, Logan explained. It's elementary, my dear Murphy. It's been a couple weeks since you turned in your paper. Seeing that you brought something for me, I surmised you got your grade back. Smelling it, I could tell that you didn't cook, so it must have been a good grade. Dodging her playful punches, he pulled the Chinese food out of the sack. Care to join me? Logan flashed Nina an easygoing smile. I don't know if I should after that remark about my cooking. Come on. You know I'm the better cook. There aren't too many things I do better than you, so you have to allow me some opportunity for teasing. You only cook better than me because you do it professionally, and you only think I don't cook well because you're a picky eater. Nina stood there with her fists resting on her hips, sticking her bottom lip out in a pout when she was done talking. It didn't take long for Logan to start laughing at Nina's pose. Before long, Nina started laughing, too. Then they both sat down to enjoy the food of victory. Darn it. Not again. Nina refrained from banging her head against her door this time. She knocked lightly on Logan's door, hoping he was home. What's wrong with you? You look awful. Thanks, pal. I knew I could count on you for an honest assessment of the situation. Nina leaned her head against Logan's doorframe. Listen, can I borrow my key? I got a ride home from work and I forgot my keys in my desk. I've got a killer migraine. I just want to go in and lie down. Logan retrieved Nina's key and opened her door. As he helped her inside, he gently relieved her of her coat and the bag she was carrying. Go get changed and lie down on your bed. I'll be in your room in a minute. Look, Logan, I appreciate the use of the key, but I just need to sleep. I don't mean to be rude, but there is nothing you can do for my migraine. I've gotten them before. It's best if I just try to sleep it off. Go do as you're told. No arguments. If what I plan to do doesn't work, you can tell me I told you so when you feel better. Now go. Nina stuck her tongue out at Logan and then trudged to her room to change. Logan lightly tapped on her door a few moments later as Nina was climbing into bed. Decent? No. Go away. I just want to sleep. Chuckling, Logan entered the darkened room, keeping the door open to allow some light in. With him, he brought a pan of steaming towels. Lie on your stomach. Straighten out your legs. Relax. What are you going to do? I just want to sleep. I knew someone once who used to get a lot of migraines. I read up on massage therapy and how it could be used to help alleviate some of the pressure. It helped her headaches most of the time. So just relax and let me get to work. Nina began to protest when Logan started to lift up her shirt. I've got warm towels to help loosen your back muscles before I start working on them. It won't help if your shirt gets soaked. This one's too tight-fitting. Let's take it off. And those sweats, I thought you were going to put on some shorts. You always wear shorts around your apartment. You'll need to change into those. Nina didn't have the energy to argue, so she lay still while Logan helped her change. The warm towels on her back felt soothing as Logan began to massage her feet, then her legs. She wasn't sure what felt better, the comforting heat on her back or the relief from Logan's skilled hands. Logan was trying hard to keep his mind on what he was doing. It was difficult with her lying there, in just her panties and the warm towels. He thought he could handle it. After all, she was like another sister to him. But at that moment, he wasn't having thoughts like a brother should have for his sister. He always knew she was cute, but he never saw her as sexy before this. Finishing her legs, Logan covered them with her blankets and removed the now-cooled towels from her back. The more he worked on her back, the more he felt her melt in his hands. Her occasional moans of relief grew non-existent. By the time Logan was satisfied that Nina's back was done, he realized she had fallen asleep. Quietly, he covered her, cleaned up the towels and left her room, closing the door behind him. Logan hung around Nina's apartment waiting to see if she felt better. He tried to stay busy by preparing a few dishes in case Nina was hungry when she woke up. If she wanted to eat, all she would have to do is place the dish in the microwave. He finally settled down in her living room with one of her magazines. Hey, what time is it? Nina padded down the hallway, wearing a thick green robe. Have you been here the whole time? It's only 8 o'clock. How are you feeling? Are you hungry? I've prepared some food in case you wanted something to eat. I wasn't sure what you would want, though. It'll only take a couple minutes to cook. I guess you have been here the whole time. I wanted to make sure you were feeling better. Or give you the chance to tell me I told you so. Well, I am feeling better. Thank you again. You always seem to be there for me. That's what friends are for, right? Anyway, are you hungry? A little bit, I think. I can't believe I feel better already. Let's talk about it while dinner cooks. Nina sat on the sofa while Logan went into the kitchen to warm a dish in the microwave. When he returned, Nina snuggled closer to him while his arms encircled her shoulders. Chris called me the other night. We went out for lunch today, and he was trying to apologize. He wants to get back together. After lunch, the shit hit the fan on a project I'm working on, so I had some smoothing over to do with a client. I've got to work all weekend to fix the mess that someone else created. And I've got a week to finish another paper due in my Monday night class. Have I given you enough? Dr. Logan's prescription is to have a good dinner, which is heating as we speak. Naturally, have a long soak in a very warm bath, preferably with a slight scent to the water and room. I don't have any bath beads or anything like that. I think Emily might have left something over at my place. She always liked that stuff. Anything else, doctor? Yes. After your long soak, you need to crawl into bed under your warm covers and sleep until you wake up. No alarm. Sounds nice, but I have too much to do to take a night off and then sleep in on Saturday. You came home with a migraine, correct? Correct. Aside from eating dinner, what would you have done differently for your migraine? Wouldn't you still be going to bed early? Would you really remember to set your alarm for tomorrow? Besides, you get up early every day. Your sleeping in would only be until about 8 o'clock. Okay, you've made your point. I think I'll take that prescription, doctor. Good. Dinner's ready. When they were done eating, Logan went to his apartment to retrieve the bath beads while Nina cleaned up the dishes. Once back, he started Nina's tub and applied the beads to the warming water. Logan shuffled Nina off to soak once the bath was ready. Logan knocked nervously on Nina's door. A week had gone by since the neighbors had a chance to talk. Hey, Logan. What's up? I have a huge favor to ask. And I'm telling you up front, it isn't a fair one. Nina's curiosity was piqued as she opened her door to allow Logan in. I just came back from a walk. Let me grab some water, and I'll be right with you. Want one? Nina retrieved 2 waters from the kitchen. When she returned to the living room, she noticed Logan wringing his hands in his lap. What's going on, Logan? Nina sat across from him, so she could study him better. I need you to come over for dinner this Friday night. No problem. Sounds pretty harmless, though. There's a catch. Logan took a big gulp of water and almost started coughing. What? You using me as a guinea pig for a new recipe? You've done that before. No big deal. Logan shook his head. Worse than that. My parents are going to be in town. We haven't seen each other in a couple of years. It wasn't pleasant the last time. I was hoping your presence would neutralize the visit. Why not take them to the restaurant? I'm sure they'd want to see where you work. And a nice public place tends to neutralize any visit. Logan took another swig of water. That would not be the best idea, trust me. So, will you come? Tell me when, and I'll do my best to be on time. Logan relaxed as they caught up on other current events in their lives. Nina noticed a smile returning to his eyes and his leg stopping its nervous thumping as Logan described the new menu for the restaurant. Dinner was at 6 o'clock, but Logan began gathering fresh ingredients and preparing them early so everything would be done. He took his time at the market Friday morning, choosing the best rack of lamb, the freshest cabbage and potatoes, as well as other assorted vegetables and spices. Logan even made Irish soda bread from scratch. By 5:45, everything was ready and warming in the oven. His parents arrived promptly at 6 o'clock. Logan's mother wrapped her stout arms around her son in a warm, motherly embrace. Logan's father shook his hand and muttered a greeting. The pleasantries were quickly exhausted. Logan continued to look from the door to his watch as the conversation waned. Finally, at 6:15, there was a knock at his door. Logan rose from his chair to answer it, grateful for the short respite from the strained silence. Sorry I'm late, blurted out Nina as soon as the door opened. Work was a bear. And Chris called again. It just was not a good day. Sorry to hear that, baby. Logan sported an uneasy smile. I'm glad you could make it, though. Nina had not paid much attention when Logan called her baby. But when he leaned down and kissed her on the lips, she was stunned. She was about to question him when he stepped aside, and Nina noticed the older couple on the sofa watching them. Come on in and meet my parents. Remember? I told you they were coming for dinner tonight. Logan snaked his arm around Nina's waist and pulled her into the room. Mom and Dad, this is Nina Murphy. She lives across the hall. Nina, these are my parents, Anna and Connor O'Shea. Nice to meet you, greeted Nina, shaking hands with them. Logan's mother had a very feminine handshake. She used only the tips of her fingers to gently hold onto Nina's, and she bent her wrist in such a way that made the handshake awkward. In sharp contrast, Connor O'Shea's hand completely gripped Nina's and held onto her firmly as he shook. So, you're the girlfriend? Connor eyed Nina suspiciously. Why don't we all sit down at the table and I'll serve dinner? Suggested Logan, nervously. Let me help you serve, darling, Nina offered, adding extra emphasis on the pet name. Once in the privacy of the kitchen, Nina spun Logan around. Girlfriend? She spat out, trying to keep her voice down. Yes. Look, I'm sorry. Logan eyed the doorway, making sure his parents weren't lingering nearby. I told you this was a huge favor. Please say you'll stay. The only way I could justify your presence was to tell them you are my girlfriend. I need you here. I don't get along with my parents right now. Things are a bit strained. Really? Chided Nina. You think it might be because of your lying? I'll explain it all later. Will you stay and help me, please? Logan's eyes no longer held the laughter and mischief in them that Nina was used to seeing. Instead, they were eyes filled with pain and sorrow. Okay, she relented. You better have made something great to eat, including dessert. Logan scooped Nina into his arms and twirled her around the kitchen. Is everything all right, dear? Your father's getting a little hungry, and we still have a drive ahead of us. Sorry, Mom. Yeah, it's ready. Logan steadied Nina on her feet, and the two set about putting dinner on the table. Throughout dinner, Nina noticed Logan and his father shooting glares at each other. Logan's mother continued to nervously move her eyes between her husband and her son. Very little was said between the three O'Sheas. This is great, Logan. Is it a new dish? Nina started some friendly conversation to try to break the tension. She smiled at Logan and then turned to his parents. Logan's always doing that, she explained. I can't count how many times he's used me as a guinea pig for a new dish. Actually, it's an old one. But I've made some changes and was thinking about featuring it as one of the specials next week. Where did you get this recipe, boy? It was Grandma Ryan's, Dad. I remember her saying you always used to ask for lamb. I thought you'd like it. What is this called? Asked Nina, pointing to a bowl with what looked like green mashed potatoes. It tastes good. That's called cannon. Right, dear? That's right, Mom. It's mashed potatoes with cabbage and leeks. I just added a few more spices like Grandma Ryan showed me. I used her recipe for the Irish soda bread, too, Dad. So, Nina, what do you do? Connor O'Shea looked directly at Nina. She watched as Logan's eyes returned to his plate. I am an assistant at a local consulting firm. And Logan bragged, sitting upright. She's almost finished her master's degree. That's wonderful, exclaimed Logan's mother. That must be hard, working and going to school. It gets frustrating, Nina admitted. But Logan's been very supportive. And you support him being a cook? I'm a chef, Dad. Frustration laced Logan's voice. Actually, yes, I do, replied Nina coolly. She reached over and covered Logan's clenched fist with her hand. It's just not right, continued Connor O'Shea. Cooking is woman's work. Now, Father, these are modern times, cajoled his wife, patting the hand of the older man while she talked. You haven't tasted my cooking, then. Nina turned to Mr. O'Shea. Oh, I'm okay with the basic stuff, like cooking spaghetti and frozen pizza. But Logan can take the simplest of ingredients and make a feast. Take construction, the older man persisted. That's a man's job. And yet, Mr. O'Shea, more women are entering the field. And not just as flaggers or office help, either. My cousin, Christine, wanted a router and other power tools for her 16th birthday. By the time she graduated high school, she had built an extension onto her parents' garage to house her workshop. She's now the foreman for the company she works for. She works right alongside the men and is well respected by them all. Oh, and she was homecoming queen her senior year of high school. It's just, Dad, you're right. It's just not construction. I'm head chef at the restaurant, though, Dad. My degree plus my position at the restaurant has me earning more per year after 5 years than you did after 10. I work hard and make a good living. Connor O'Shea dropped his fork to his plate in agitation. I'm not saying you don't, Dad, but I do too. And I do many of the things you do in construction. Logan began holding up the fingers of his free hand to emphasize his points. I supervise and train a cook staff under me. I construct new dishes by analyzing the ingredients and determining their nutritional values. I calculate the production cost of each dish so that we can set the price and make a profit. And I negotiate with produce and meat vendors for the best quality at the best price. I'm not just standing in front of a grill flipping burgers. I wish you could appreciate that. Logan unclenched his fist and wrapped his fingers around Nina's hand. Fiona did, he mumbled, almost inaudibly. Connor O'Shea slammed his hand down on the table, causing the drinks to slosh and silverware to clink. Everyone jumped at the unexpected noise. It's getting late, Mother. We've got a drive ahead of us. The elder O'Shea rose from the table and extended a hand to his wife. Logan's shoulders slumped as he stood up to bring his parents their coats. After saying a courteous thank you and goodbye, Connor and Anna O'Shea left. Logan leaned against the closed door. His eyes remained on the floor at his feet. Sorry about that, he apologized. I shouldn't have put you through that. Do you want to talk about it? Nina stood by Logan's side and placed a reassuring hand on his arm. Nothing really to talk about. I mean, you heard him. Cooking is woman's work, not something his son should be doing for a living. I was hoping after he saw how successful I was it would change his mind. I guess I was wrong. Who is Fiona? Just a ghost from the past. Logan pushed off the door with his shoulders. Look, I just want to clean up and go to bed. Would you mind if we called it an early night? Nina reached up and kissed Logan on the cheek. If you want to talk, you know where I am. Good night. She quietly left the apartment as Logan retreated to the kitchen. Logan was staring at his blank TV an hour later when he heard a knock at his door. Reluctantly, he got up and looked out to see who it was. A tiny sparkle of joy shone in his eyes as he opened the door. You know, Nina began, tapping her chin with her finger. I remembered that you owe me dessert. And after what we went through, I think we both deserve it. I've got the drinks, so bring it on, mister. Nina strode into the apartment and headed for the table. Logan went to the kitchen and produced a serving plate with a bundt-type cake on it. Nina finished getting the place settings while Logan cut the cake and served. This is great. What is it called? It's an Irish brambrack cake. Traditionally, you bake little trinkets in the cake, and that will bring something special to the one who receives it. This is great, Logan. Really? Thanks, Nina. Look, I'm really sorry about earlier. I should have warned you about what you were agreeing to. I just didn't want you to say no. I needed you here. It didn't seem like I was much help. I mean, I insulted your father with that crack about my cousin, Christine. No, it wasn't anything you said. He doesn't like the idea that I cook for a living. I think it's his old-fashioned notion that he does real work and I don't. I just can't get it through his head that he's wrong. Maybe that's your problem. What do you mean? Remember when I had the writer's block and you took me for a walk? Logan nodded his head, remembering that day. I was frustrated and stopped in my writing because I was looking at the problem and solution from the wrong perspective. Maybe you are, too. Look, you're trying too hard to convince him he's wrong. Let's face it. Who wants to be shown up and proven wrong? And I don't care how old you are. No parent wants their kid to prove them wrong. How did you get to be so smart, Ms. Murphy? Well, Nina cleared her throat dramatically. It seems that a friend mentioned something about my working on getting my master's. So, with the degree comes intelligence? Logan raised an eyebrow in mock disbelief. Possibly. More importantly, though, let's hope it comes with a bigger paycheck. Nina timed her comment carefully. She laughed unashamedly as Logan tried hard not to laugh with a mouthful of cake. When he was finally able to swallow safely, he looked at his friend and chuckled. I'm glad you came back, Logan admitted, reaching out for her hand and caressing her palm. Me too. Besides, that's what girlfriends are for. Nina rose from her chair and went over to stand beside Logan. She leaned over and wrapped her arms around his shoulders in a hug. He easily pushed his chair away from the table and pulled Nina to his lap. They stayed cuddling on the chair for a couple minutes before Nina and Logan both began to yawn. They cleaned up quickly before saying their goodnights, each retreating to their own bedroom. The next Thursday night, Logan was sitting in his living room, paying very little attention to the show on his TV. He heard pounding on Nina's door and peeked through his peephole to see who it was. Just as he suspected, it was Chris. He never liked Chris and only tolerated him because he was dating Nina. Logan valued Nina's friendship. He watched at his door, listening as the events unfolded. I told you, Chris, I'm not in the mood tonight. I've got a migraine. You always say that. Listen, honey, let me in and I'll help you take care of it. We don't have to go out. Logan shook his head and turned from his door as Nina let Chris inside. He felt that wasn't the right decision to make, but Nina was a grown woman and capable of deciding for herself. Just to be on the safe side, though, Logan reduced the volume on his TV. He remembered the fight that Nina and Chris had that led to their breakup. A short time later, Logan heard 3 loud poundings on his door. After looking through the peephole, he opened the door wide. Is there a problem, Chris? Logan's voice was dripping with contempt. What the hell did you do with my girlfriend? What are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. What's with these little nudie massages of yours? You couldn't wait till I was gone before screwing her, could you? Before Logan responded, he caught a glimpse of Nina in her doorway. Her cheek was starting to swell, and her bottom lip was cut. Logan's eyes darted back to Chris, who was ready to start fighting. Quickly, he called out, Dennis, 3F. As Chris' fist crashed into his face, Logan began to defend himself and his home. Nina ran down the hall and knocked on the door to 3F. Sarah, Dennis' wife, answered. When she saw Nina's face, she called into her apartment for her husband. Nina hurriedly spoke 4 words when she spotted Dennis. Chris? Logan. Logan's apartment. Sarah, call dispatch and let them know what is going on. Nina, I'd prefer you stay here with Sarah so she can look at your face, but I'm sure you're going to follow. so stay behind me and stay out of the way." With that, Dennis bolted from his apartment and approached Logan's. Logan had the forethought to leave his door open so Dennis could assess the situation as soon as he got there. What he found was Logan bloodied, but still standing. Chris, however, was groaning and writhing on the floor. Logan looked over to the doorway, removed the towel and ice from his eye, and explained, "I needed to protect myself, officer. He hit me first. It's self-defense." A little Irish twinkle shone from his eyes. "No doubt," muttered Dennis. He knelt down beside Chris and began reading him his rights just as backup appeared at Logan's door. The paramedics arrived right behind them. Dennis briefed the officers while Logan tried to comfort Nina in a corner of his living room away from Chris. One of the officers approached Logan and Nina. "Ma'am, can you tell me what happened?" Nina's eyes darted back to Chris, who was being attended to by paramedics. "Oh God." Nina's hand covered her mouth, and she ran down the hall to Logan's bathroom. She began to heave even before she slammed the door shut behind her. "Are you okay, Nina?" Logan knocked, listening to his friend getting sick on the other side. He was just about to try the handle when he heard water, and then the door opened. "Sorry," Nina apologized, pulling her robe tighter to her chest and looking toward the floor. The injuries to her face looked more pronounced against her now pale skin. "Are you all right, ma'am?" A paramedic joined Logan, with the questioning officer close behind. "Yeah." Nina leaned on Logan's shoulder. "I had a migraine when I got home." "Chris, is that your boyfriend, ma'am?" The officer began taking notes. "No, he's my ex-boyfriend. He's been trying to get back together, but I've not been interested." The officer continued to take notes, only looking up occasionally. "Chris came over tonight, and I told him to leave because I had a migraine. I was stupid to let him in, but I knew he wouldn't go otherwise. We had an argument, and he hit me." Nina pointed to her face. "Well, a couple times. Anyway, the next thing I knew, he was coming over here pounding on Logan's door." "So, you live on this floor?" "Yes. 3C, across the hall." "This is your apartment then, sir?" "Yes." "Are you the new boyfriend?" "No. Look, we're just friends. We've been friends for years. Chris came over here and swung at me first, right after I opened my door. I don't know what justification he thought he had for his attack, but he started it, and I was just protecting myself." "That's fine, sir. I'm just trying to get the facts." The officer continued to talk in a monotone voice. "Are you sure you're okay, ma'am?" Checked the paramedic, noting the color returning to Nina. "I could take a look at your face." "My face is fine. My jaw is moving fine. I've got no blurred vision. All I need is some ice." "And the vomiting was caused by?" "When I get a migraine, I try to sleep it off, which is what I was trying to do when Chris showed up tonight. When I can't sleep it off, my body throws up until the pressure is relieved. So it was just because of my migraine. Except for being embarrassed and humiliated, I'm fine." "Really?" Dennis stuck his head around the corner and called for everyone to come back to the living room. Logan kept a protective arm around Nina as he helped her walk. The officers quickly finished taking their notes and Dennis assured them he would follow up. Chris was escorted out by the police with the paramedics close behind. "Are you going to be okay, Nina?" Concern clouded Dennis' face as he watched Nina slump on the sofa. "She'll be fine, Dennis. Thanks, man. I'm going to keep my eye on her for a while." Logan extended his hand while walking Dennis to the door. "I wouldn't leave her alone tonight," Dennis cautioned, whispering so that Nina couldn't hear. "She might realize during the night what happened and go into shock." "I thought of that. I had intended on making a nuisance of myself. I'm going to have her call in sick tomorrow, too. She doesn't need to be answering questions about her face right now." "Good idea. Are you working tomorrow night?" "Sarah and I can have her over for dinner if you'll be at work." "Thanks, Dennis. I'm going to see how she's doing tomorrow. I might call in, myself, though. They won't be too happy, but I've got the time coming to me, and my boss knows I don't take a day off on a whim." "Well, if you need anything, man, you know where I'm at." "Thanks, again, Dennis." As Dennis left the apartment, Logan walked across the hall to lock Nina's door. When he returned, he made sure his door was locked securely before turning to look at Nina. She was curled up on his sofa with tears silently flowing from her eyes. "Hey, gee, it's okay. Everything's going to be fine." Logan pulled Nina onto his lap as soon as he sat down. "He could have really hurt you," she sobbed. "And it would have been my fault." "No, it would have been his fault. And I'm okay. A little bloody, but you haven't seen me after creating a new dish. Why don't you have a soak in a warm tub? I can run across and get some clothes for you to change into. We'll have a light dinner, so your stomach stays calm. And then it's off to bed. I don't know if I can sleep. You're staying here tonight, Nina. You're safe. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. Now, Go get the tub started while I run across and get you a change of clothes. Anything in particular? Or can I choose what I want to see you in? Logan wiggled his eyebrows, causing Nina to smile weakly. I have a t-shirt and shorts on my bed already. If I can trust you, can you get me clean panties, too? Oh, I get to wade through your panty drawer? On second thought, laughing, Logan stood next to the sofa. Just tell me which drawer. I'll be back quickly. You can time me. After she finished with the instructions, Nina went to start the tub. She found more of the bath beads Logan had used for her before, so she added them to the water. No sooner had she settled into the tub than Logan was lightly tapping on the door. Nina, I've got your clothes. If you're in the tub, why don't you pull the shower curtain and I'll put your clothes on the counter? Okay, Nina called. I've closed the curtain. Damn, Logan teased, opening the door. I was hoping for a peek. Maybe next time. Huh? You're such a pervert. And you're feeling better. Take as long as you want. I'm going to put these clothes in the washer and then start dinner. I'll let you know when it's ready. Oh, and I've brought an ice pack for your face. It's right there on the floor by the tub. Logan gathered up Nina's discarded clothes and took them to the washer. Before combining them with his own, he brought Nina's clothes up to his face and inhaled deeply. Logan prepared a light dinner of salad and hot sandwiches, and the couple lounged in the living room while they ate. After finishing, he cleaned up the dishes and changed into pajama pants and a t-shirt. It's getting late, Nina. Why don't you take my bed? Offered Logan. Where will you sleep? I still fit on the sofa. It's not that bad. Look, why don't I just go back over to my apartment? It's not like it's a long way away. I want you close by in case something happens tonight. I know you, Nina. If you woke up frightened, you wouldn't come over here. You wouldn't want to disturb me. I might. Nina gazed at Logan with a childish pout on her face. Besides, I'm not tired right now. That's fine. Why don't we relax in my bedroom anyway? So when you do get tired, you won't have far to go. Logan pushed Nina playfully to his bedroom. What do you want to do now? Nina asked, lounging on Logan's bed. I can't sleep and don't really want to right now. I don't know. Whatever you want. I know. Want to play truth or dare? Huh. You know, you either agree to tell the truth or submit to a dare. Come on, it'll be fun. Okay. Logan reluctantly agreed. You first. Nina continued enthusiastically. Truth or dare? Truth. Have any sibs? What? Sibs, as in siblings, brothers, or sisters. Do you have any? That's a strange question. Maybe. But I realized after I met your parents that I didn't really know much about your family, so I'm asking. I understand, I guess. Okay, one sister, Fiona. Where is she? Nope. The way I remember the game, there's no follow-up. Okay, Nina pouted. Truth or dare? Truth. Do you have any brothers or sisters? Nope. I'm an only. Truth or dare? Truth. Where's Fiona? You have no patience, you know? Okay. She used to get these headaches when she was younger. That's how I learned to give massages. We found out too late that she had a brain tumor. Wow. Sorry. It was a lifetime ago, it seems. Logan paused for a moment and sighed. She's the one who taught me that writer's block technique. Only, instead of taking me for a walk, she'd have me cook. She sounds like a pretty smart young lady. And she must have loved you very much. Yeah, she was smart. Intelligent, like you. And everyone loved Fiona. Logan sighed once more and then looked deeply into Nina's eyes. Okay, truth or dare? Truth. Would you have gotten back together with Chris? I'd like to think I wouldn't, but I might have if he hadn't started that fight with you. Fair enough. I'm sorry. I get lonely at times. Okay, truth or dare? Truth. Who was your first kiss? Marcia Neufeld, 3rd grade. We kissed behind this big tree we used as the base for tag during recess. How cute. Logan rolled his eyes at Nina's teasing. Truth or dare? Dare. Brave soul. Logan grinned mischievously. I dare you to moon me. What? You heard me. Go stand over there and drop true. Haven't you ever mooned someone before? No. I'm a good girl. Laughing nervously, Nina got off the bed, turned her back to Logan, and hesitated. Then, with a playful glance over her shoulder, she tugged her shorts down just enough to show him quickly before pulling them back up, chuckling. Logan shook his head, laughing. Nina flopped back onto the bed. Truth or dare? Truth. Okay. Nina smirked. Did you like seeing that? Do you have to ask? You can't answer a truth with a question, mister. Nina teased. All right. Yes, it was definitely amusing. Logan grinned. Truth or dare? Truth. When was your first serious relationship? Wow, okay. Nina paused. It was in college, on my 21st birthday. We'd been together since freshman year. Oh, what happened? I thought we'd get engaged soon after. But instead, he broke up with me. And I found out he'd been seeing someone else for at least a year. Ouch. I'm sorry, Nina. It's kind of the story of my life, she sighed. All right, truth or dare? Truth. Have you ever had a crush on someone unexpected? Logan blushed slightly, looking away before answering. Yeah, my 8th grade biology teacher, Mrs. Marshall. Most of the guys had a crush on her. He chuckled, then met Nina's eyes. Truth or dare? Dare. Okay, kiss me. Nina smiled, got up, and walked over to Logan. She leaned in, wrapped her arms around his neck, and gave him a quick, playful peck on the lips before stepping back with a grin. Hey, you call that a kiss? You never specified what type or for how long. Nina smiled triumphantly as she strode back to her seat on the opposite corner of the bed. Truth or dare? Truth. When did you lose your virginity? At 18, after prom. I know, it's a cliché, but that's when it happened. Logan shot Nina a disparaging look when he noticed her disbelief. What? I didn't say anything. She flashed Logan a genuine smile, and it was quickly returned. Nina continued, Truth. How come you don't talk much about your parents? It's just my mom. Dad died when I was young, and I didn't leave home on very good terms. Mom had remarried, and her husband is a lech. I left as soon as I could. She's still married, so I'm still away. Sorry. It's no big deal. I mean, I've learned how to take care of myself, right? So it's not all bad. Okay, truth or dare? Truth. Are you always this boring? Hey, you're the one who wanted to play this. Okay. Nina pondered a moment before sitting up straighter and eyeing Logan suspiciously. When was the last time you masturbated? Getting kind of personal, aren't we? Well, you wouldn't take a dare. I don't know about you sometimes. Okay, let's see. I guess it was last week. Liar. You couldn't have gone a whole week. I swear. It was. This fox came into the restaurant and wanted to compliment the chef on her meal. I mean, she was dressed to the nines and stacked. I had a nice dream when I got home. EW. Laughing, Logan continued. Truth or dare? Dare. You haven't learned. All right, flash me. Can I do something else, please? Pleaded Nina, immediately feeling uncomfortable. Come on. It's no different than goofing around. You don't have to keep it up. Just a quick lift and drop. That's why it's called flashing. Please. Logan quickly struck a playful pose, hands pressed together under his chin like he was praying, with his bottom lip stuck out in an exaggerated pout. Hesitating and without a smile, Nina faced Logan. She lifted the hem of her shirt briefly to her chin, then quickly let it fall back down. She felt a wave of embarrassment despite trying to brush it off. Why don't we stop now? Nina asked softly, returning to her spot on the bed. No, Logan shook his head, momentarily caught off guard. All right, truth. No sense of adventure? Nina tried to lighten the mood with a dry chuckle. Not yet. Have you ever hit anyone? You mean before tonight? Logan smiled a crooked smile. It's been a while. The last real fistfight I got into was with one of my buddies in high school when I announced I was going to be a chef. He started calling me names, so I decked him. Logan paused a moment to watch Nina's reaction. Truth or dare? Truth. Tired of dares, are we? Logan arched an eyebrow at her while he thought. His face turned somber. Did Chris do that? What? Did Chris give you those bruises? On your breasts? Nina nervously pulled her knees to her chest and hugged them tight. Looking down, she quietly replied, yes. Through a clenched jaw, Logan quickly continued. Dare. I don't want to do this anymore. Nina sounded like a little girl getting ready to cry. Dare, Logan repeated, a little more insistent. When Nina didn't reply, he spoke for her. I dare myself to kiss you the way you should be kissed. He rose on all fours and slowly crawled across the bed until he was beside Nina. Sitting on his haunches, Logan reached over and gently lifted her face. Slowly, he moved his head closer and lightly touched his lips to hers. When Logan felt Nina's lips quiver under his, he lifted his head. Truth or dare? He whispered, with his face still inches from her. Truth. Do you want me to kiss you again? Yes. Logan sat up and gently pried Nina's hands off her legs. She slowly lowered her knees as Logan leaned over her body, resting his weight on his right hand. Bringing his left hand up, he gently caressed Nina's bruised cheek with his thumb. When her tears began to fall, Logan's thumb was there to wipe them away. As if in slow motion, he leaned forward and again his lips touched Nina's. This time he added the slightest bit of pressure. When he broke the kiss, he heard Nina let out a soft sigh. Now the game is over. I think it's time we try to get some sleep. Glancing over at his clock, Logan noticed it was after 2 o'clock in the morning. I would like to hold you tonight, Nina. Just hold you. We'll have many tomorrows to figure out where we want to go from here. Nina did not resist. Logan turned down the covers and led Nina to the head of the bed. Once she was settled, he turned off the light and lay next to her. He snaked his arm under Nina's head and pulled her body closer to his. Sleep now, Nina. You're safe. Logan waited until he believed Nina was asleep before he drifted off, himself. Logan knew he was dreaming but was unable to alter his dream at all. He recognized the clear sky he was watching while lying on his back in the familiar field. He felt a warm body clinging to his side, but could not turn his head to check who it was. Instead, his gaze was forced upon the sky above. He heard a voice in his head. No, that wasn't right. He felt a voice in his head. It was a soft caress of a familiar melody. It was his Fiona. You must release me and let another fill your soul. I will always be with you, but another needs you now and you need her. It is time. Your heart aches to share your love with her. You need to let me go. You must help them all heal. Only with their healing will you be able to move on. You are strong enough. You must help them. You are the only one. You are ready. Logan felt ready to argue, but was unable to. He remained still and noticed soft clouds appear in his sky. They formed the angelic face of his Fiona, smiling down at him. And then the clouds were gone. He still had so many questions for her. He didn't want her to go. He fervently wished for her return to his dream. As his mind was struggling with her loss again, he felt a familiar heat begin to grow within him. It began slowly in his loins, and then continued to grow throughout his body. It was all wrong for his dream. He forced his head to turn and saw Nina lying beside him in the field. Her hand was rubbing his body. As Logan jerked upright, he awoke from his dream. Nina was beside him and still rubbing his body. He was desperate to remember his dream and get back to his Fiona. Stop. Logan tore Nina's hand away from his body without thinking. Almost immediately, he regretted his reaction. Nina's hurt and embarrassment registered on her face. She rushed from his bed and his apartment, slamming the door as she left. Punching his pillow in frustration, he knew he needed to go after her. Just before Logan left his bed, he heard Fiona's voice again. She needs to feel the love you have for her. Grabbing a box from the bathroom and his keys from their hook, Logan left his apartment and let himself into Nina's. He found her huddled on the sofa, sobbing and shaking. She didn't move when he entered, nor when he sat down beside her. I brought these for us, he began, dropping the full box of tissues on her coffee table. I have a feeling we're going to need them. Logan waited for a response from Nina. When she offered no rebuke, he continued. I owe you an apology and an explanation. I know that. I was a shit and I'm sorry. But I have a couple of questions for you before I explain. Will you answer them? Nina nodded her head. Did your stepfather hurt you? Or other boyfriends? Nina sat up to compose herself and used a tissue to blow her nose before she explained. No, my mother's husband never touched me. He was a lech and constantly leering at me but said my body disgusted him. I wasn't fat, but I wasn't athletic and toned either. Did you ever tell your mother how you felt? I tried once. She told me that he was worried that I wasn't going to be able to find a good man to take care of me. I couldn't get her to understand the way he looked at me. Graduating and leaving for college was the best thing that could have happened. Nina wiped the tears from her eyes. Was there someone in college who hurt you? What about that boyfriend you told me about? You were with him for 3 years. You know how they talk about the freshman 10? Logan nodded. Well, I actually had the freshman -20. I worked whenever I wasn't in school just to have an excuse to stay away from my mother's house. In the process, I lost 20 pounds my first year. That's when I met Gary. I wasn't even 100 pounds soaking wet. He said I looked good. I think you look even better now. You're a beautiful woman, Logan added. What happened? Looking back, Gary would never take me out to dinner. It was always the movies, a concert, or some party. Anyway, he took me to a party for my 21st birthday, and we both had a bit too much to drink. When we got back to my room, I was telling him how great the night had been. I was so naive. He turned to me and said I looked like a skeleton. Then he told me he was going to Tiffany's room. At least she was lively and knew how to have fun. I'm so sorry, Nina. I just pushed it aside and dove into my studies. I met Chris after I graduated and started working full-time. Has he hurt you before this? Nina tore at the clean tissue she held in her hands. Chris wasn't this way at first. I actually wouldn't date him at first. But he was persistent. He showed me he could be gentle and loving, so I relented and went out with him. He became more and more jealous when he noticed other men watching me when we went out. And then, when he told me I had to choose between seeing him or having you for a friend, that's what that fight in the hallway was about when we broke up. I didn't know. I know you didn't. But when he forced me to choose, it was easy. I knew you didn't like Chris, but you never tried to get me to leave him. When he insisted on coming over tonight, I asked him to give me a back rub. I told him a friend had done that recently, and it worked to get rid of my migraine. Well, he figured out that you were that friend. He went crazy. That explains the bruises on your face, but not the rest of your body. Nina, I know enough to know those aren't fresh bruises on your breasts. Yeah. Nina concentrated on her hands wringing in her lap. She took a deep breath and then continued. I met Chris at a club last weekend. Let's just say, Chris now likes it a bit rough. That last time we slept together was a big mistake on so many different levels. Thank you. Logan reached over and gently hugged Nina. Now, I owe you explanation about earlier. Nina pulled away so she could look him in the eye. No, you don't, Logan. I was out of line. I misunderstood our little truth or dared game last night. I'm just a physical person. I like to be touched and held. I haven't had that since Chris and I broke up. I miss it. And with all the stress I've been under lately, then Chris. And your kiss was so gentle last night and so sensual. Logan shook his head. No, you didn't misunderstand. That kiss last night was real. It wasn't staged to make you feel better. But something also happened that I need to explain. Logan took a deep breath to muster his courage. First off, I do feel an attraction to you. I think I always have, but didn't want a chance ruining our friendship, so I made you my replacement little sister. I like knowing that you're right across the hall. I can rely on you, and I've missed that feeling since Fiona's been gone. I always called Fiona my little sister because she was so much smaller than I was, kind of like you. But she was also my twin, my complement. We seemed a lot closer than other twins we knew. My weaknesses were her strengths and vice versa. When she started to get the headaches, I went out of my way to find something to help ease her pain. The massages seemed to help for a while. When we found out about the brain tumor, I did whatever I could to help her. It must have been painful for you, too. We all took a trip to Ireland when we found out she was terminal. She had always wanted to go, so our parents took us as a high school graduation gift. But we knew the real reason. 2 weeks after returning, she went into a coma and never came out. Logan accepted a tissue from Nina to wipe the tears that were flowing for his Fiona. We spent a lot of time together in Ireland, Fiona and I. It's like she knew she was going to die soon and wanted to share all her deepest secrets and thoughts with me. We spent one afternoon just lying in a field, looking up in the sky and talking. It was beautiful and I missed that with her. Nina moved closer to Logan and wrapped her arms around him for comfort. I'm so sorry, Logan. I never knew. I had a dream this morning. I dreamt I was back in that field in Ireland, and someone was beside me, but I couldn't see who. Fiona was talking to me, letting me know it was time to move on and let her go. She said I needed to let her go so that I could allow someone else in my soul. She left before I could ask any questions. Then you invaded my dream. Logan sucked in his breath and shook his head. No, that didn't come out right. But I think I understand, Nina consoled. You were hoping to see Fiona in your dream, and you saw me, instead. You still miss her. It's obvious. I'm sure your parents still miss her, too. I know they do. Fiona had a way of wrapping everyone around her finger. She always did that. I didn't mind either. I knew our parents loved us, but Fiona had a special spirit that just enveloped everyone around her. So, what does all this mean for us? I think Fiona was telling me it was okay to feel this way about you. I want to be with you, Nina. But I don't want to damage our friendship. I want to be with you, too. You are like my Fiona in so many ways. I see you as my complement, too. You are the other part that makes me whole. I hated keeping this thing with Chris from you, but I was afraid you would think less of me. I could never think less of you, Nina. You are so strong. I've seen it in you. Logan sighed while pulling Nina tighter to his body. I want to be with you, as more than just friends. But I'd like to wait until your bruises heal before we have unbridled, passion-filled sex? Nina raised an eyebrow with her question. I was going to say, make love, but I think I like your suggestion better. Logan and Nina shared a much-needed laugh. I want Chris' bruises to be healed so that we won't have him in bed with us. EW, what a thought. At that moment, Nina's stomach began to growl. Why don't you call work and tell them you're not coming in? I'll make us some breakfast and we can talk some more. But I feel fine. I should be going in, Nina protested. You might feel fine now, but You won't after a morning filled with answering the same questions about your face. At least, by waiting until Monday, you'll have worked out your pat answers to the questions. Logan loosened his grip, but continued to hold Nina. Okay, I'll call in on 2 conditions. Name them. 1, you call in. 2, if I have to stay home, I'm not going to be here alone. Absolutely. I was already planning on calling Mike a little later on. What's the second condition? That you remind me how I should expect to be kissed. Did you forget already? Maybe Chris clocked me harder than we realize. This damn shorter memory loss. Both smiled as Logan leaned down to capture Nina's lips. She moaned in his mouth as her hand came up to hide in Logan's thick hair and pull him tighter to her. Reluctantly, Logan broke the kiss. Panting, he reminded Nina, "You still need to call? See, what did I tell you about my short-term memory? Don't be surprised if I need reminding again, sometime soon." Nina rose from the sofa with a smile on her face. She called her boss and explained the situation while Logan went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast. After eating, they both changed out of their bedclothes and spent the morning together talking. Logan's boss understood why he wanted the time off, although he wasn't pleased with not having his best chef on a Friday night. Logan promised to be at work on Saturday, and his boss seemed calmer. Early afternoon, Dennis and Sarah stopped by Nina's apartment to check on her. They looked at each other when Logan answered the door. Reluctantly, Nina allowed Sarah to inspect her face. "Isn't this your day off? You don't have to play nurse with me, Sarah. I'm fine." "Let me be the judge," commanded Sarah. "Besides, if I don't do this, Dennis won't leave me alone." Both women smiled and glanced over at Dennis, who shrugged his shoulders. "Hate a guy for caring. Why don't ya?" "I'm with you, man," commiserated Logan. "I got just as much flack from Nina when I had her call into work. We just don't get any respect. And yet you're both still around," teased Nina. "What's the verdict, Nurse Sarah?" Logan snubbed his nose at Nina and looked directly at Sarah. "She's fine. Nothing broken or permanently damaged that I can tell. How are you doing?" Sarah trained her eyes on Logan's injuries. "Just a couple cuts. Chris only had one chance for a sucker punch. Do you guys have any plans for this afternoon? Do you have to work, Logan?" asked Dennis. Mike wasn't entirely thrilled, but I called off work. "He'll work me extra hard tomorrow, but that's fine. It'll be worth knowing that Nina's okay. I have a couple things to get done for work and my classes, but they can wait until the weekend. Did you have something in mind? I know it's only lunchtime, but why don't you 2 come over for dinner tonight?" invited Dennis. "I'm not sure," Nina teased. "Logan is a real picky eater." "Yeah, but nobody tops my Sarah's lasagna. I mean, what does an Irishman know about making good Italian lasagna?" Dennis pulled his wife tighter to his side. "Well, I don't know. And you call yourselves my friends?" Logan complained with mock indignation. "Here I go and sacrifice my body and home to save a friend's virtue, and all I get in return is put-downs." "Well, that's not all you got." Nina spoke and then began to blush. Dennis raised an eyebrow and turned to look from one to the other. "Is there something finally going on here we should know about?" "Dennis, that's none of our business." Sarah scolded her husband and slapped his chest. "Hey, what do you expect? I'm a cop. I'm curious." Hustling her husband out the door, Sarah turned back and called, "Dinner will be at 6. See you 2 then." Logan and Nina chuckled as Sarah and Dennis left. Putting his arms around her waist, Logan pulled Nina to him. "So, what do you want to do until dinner? Why don't we go for a walk?" suggested Nina. "I'm not going to want to stay holed up here all day. And a good friend once told me that a walk would help clear my mind. But it's getting cold out. So bundle up. That's what winter coats are for. It's not like it's snowing or anything. Come on. The walk will do us both good." Once ready, the pair went behind their building to walk along the path. "So, tell me more about Fiona," Nina began, wrapping her arm around Logan's. "What do you want to know about her?" What was her favorite ice cream?" Logan shook his head and laughed. "Leave it to you to ask such a silly question." "Okay, I don't know that she had a favorite, necessarily, but Fiona liked the strange-sounding ice creams. We would go to a neighborhood ice cream parlor, and she would get chocolate marshmallow swirl, or bubblegum, or birthday cake. But I think the one she got most often was apple pie." "And these are all ice creams?" "Sure. Usually, the ice cream was a chocolate or vanilla base with the other things mixed in. Except apple pie, that was a cinnamon ice cream base with apple chunks mixed in." "She didn't like the ordinary, did she?" "Not at all. She liked looking at something's potential, not popularity. I think that's why she encouraged me to go into cooking. She knew it wasn't going to be a popular decision, especially with our dad, but she knew I could make it more than just a hobby. Don't let my dad fool you. For all of his blustering, He cooks more than my mom. He just doesn't do it for a living. Did he and Fiona have a special time together? What do you mean? Well, you two had the cooking thing and then massages. What did your dad do? Just with her? Logan looked thoughtful as he gazed at the pathway in front of them. She and Dad would go to the movies. He didn't care what movie it was. He would even take her to chick flicks. She convinced him to take her to the Superman movies and Rocky. Oh, and when she went through her horror movie phase, Dad took her to see Halloween about half a dozen times. What about her and your mom? They did a lot of the girl stuff together. You know, shopping and dressing up, stuff like that. Fiona found something in each of us to connect with. Did you and your dad ever cook together? It sounds like you both have that in common. Logan thought for a moment and then wrapped his arm around Nina's shoulders, pulling her closer while they continued walking. You know, I don't think we ever have. I usually cooked alone, mostly for Fiona. Will you do me a favor? If I can. Nina stopped and looked directly at Logan. She allowed her hands to move around his waist and clasp together behind him. I need you to find a way to connect with your dad. I want you to try to cook with him. I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure it's possible. For your Fiona. She knew it was possible. Nina stretched on her toes and placed a lingering kiss on Logan's lips. He tightened his hold on her as he added more passion to the kiss. I'll try, he agreed. Now, let's head back. It's getting colder, and I want to warm up before dinner. The couple walked arm in arm back to their building. It's done, Logan announced, placing the phone receiver down in its cradle. What are the plans? Mom and Dad will be expecting us the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Mom knows that I plan on helping Dad cook the Thanksgiving dinner, but she's not going to say anything to him. What's this expecting us? Logan, this is something you need to do. We never talked about my going, too. Besides, I'm not sure my bruises will be gone in 2 weeks. What will you tell your parents about my face? Logan wrapped his arms around Nina and pulled her snug to his body. Relax, Nina. Yes, my parents will be expecting us. Remember, you're my girlfriend. It wouldn't be right for me to leave you on a family holiday, now would it? And don't worry about your bruises. We'll just tell them the truth. An ex-boyfriend tried to get back together with you, and when you rebuffed him, he swung at you and then came swinging for me. Remember, I've got bruises too, that need explaining. I'm not sure my being there will be a good idea. I insulted your father the first time we met. I'm not doing this without you. Look, I need you there. You're giving me the strength. And if what my mother says is true, Dad will be expecting you. He thinks you've got spirit and spunk, and that's something he admires. Mom says he's been asking about you every time she and I get off the phone. The debate was squashed when Logan noticed the time. They headed down the hall to Dennis and Sarah's for a relaxing evening with friends. Logan went to the restaurant early for his Saturday shift. He left Nina working diligently on her projects. A couple times before and after the lunch rush, Logan snuck away so he could call Nina to check up on her. Each time, he was rewarded with her teasing and sarcastic remarks about his concern. Logan always hung up his phone smiling. Dinner time was busier than expected, and Logan didn't get another chance to call Nina. As he walked down the hallway to his apartment, he contemplated what he should do. It was close to midnight, and he expected Nina would already be in bed. But Logan felt a strong need to see her one last time before he would be able to sleep. He spoke quietly to himself as he rummaged for his keys. I'll hang up my coat, take her key, and just go over and check up on her. If she's asleep, she'll never know I was there. And if she's awake, I'll apologize for just walking in. But I'll get to see for myself that she's okay. She can't be too mad at me for that. As soon as Logan opened his door, he stopped. He didn't usually turn on any lights when he left for work, yet he noticed one flickering out of the corner of his eye. When he turned, he smiled and quietly closed and locked the door. The flickering light was coming from his television. He looked and noticed it was on one of those cable home shopping networks. Using the light from the TV, he turned and watched Nina sleeping. She was stretched out on his sofa and snuggled under a throw he recognized from her apartment. Logan turned off the television and went to kneel next to the sofa while his eyes adjusted to the dark. With the absence of sound, Nina stirred. Logan smiled as Nina twitched her nose and then rubbed it with her hand. She turned her head a little to the left and then back to the right. Slowly, she opened her eyes and smiled. What time is it? Past your bedtime. Things were busy at the restaurant, so I got out later than planned. Logan allowed a couple of fingers to caress Nina's cheek. How long have you been here? I just wanted to be here when you got home. I got all my work done. Logan watched as Nina's eyes began to close again. Nina, I'm going to pick you up and take you to my bed to sleep. I can go back to my own bed, she yawned. Sleep, Nina. I'll take care of you. Gently, Logan lifted Nina in his arms, leaving her throw on the sofa. He smiled when he got to his bedroom. When Nina had come over, she had turned down one corner of the bed. Logan placed Nina on the exposed sheet and covered her with his blankets. Quietly, he got ready for bed and joined her there. Sensing Logan's presence, Nina turned in his direction and snuggled closely to his body. Sunday morning arrived overcast and dreary. Snow was predicted by afternoon. Nina woke and stretched the remaining sleep from her body. She smiled. Opening her eyes, she saw Logan smiling back at her. "Good morning, sunshine. What time did you get home?" "After midnight." "I'm glad you were waiting, but you didn't have to." "I know, but I didn't want you to scare me when you woke me up coming over to check on me. Why do you think I would attempt to enter your apartment while you were asleep? Just to check up on you? You called me 5 times yesterday, Logan. That's excessive even for the most devoted of spouses." "Yeah, well, I just wanted to make sure you got some work done. I did after you stopped calling." Nina laughed when she noticed Logan's pout begin to form. Before he could turn away, she pulled his head to hers and kissed him. "This feels good waking up next to you." "I agree. So, what do we do? Do we make a schedule and map out the days we stay at the other's apartment? Or do we just play it by ear?" "Honestly, I haven't thought that far ahead. I'm still waiting for your bruises to heal." Logan leaned over and placed a kiss on the tip of Nina's nose. "Personally, I think we should wait until after the holidays." "Why do you say that? You get real busy at the restaurant with all the extra holiday parties and special dinners you give." "Me? I've got to finish my classes and make sure I'm prepared for finals. They're right before Christmas, you know? I'm not going to be able to wait weeks until I see you again," admitted Logan. "Or sleep with you. It sounds too clinical to schedule time, but we may have to. Why don't we just play it by ear until after Thanksgiving?" Nina compromised. "I've got another paper and a test in my classes before then. I'm pretty sure I'm prepared for my finals, but they still make me nervous." "Okay, I'll tell you what." Logan pulled Nina closer to his body. "If you finished everything you planned on doing this weekend, let's spend today together. It can be doing mundane chores in either apartment, going shopping, going to a movie, whatever. Then I'll be satisfied with at least a phone call every couple of days until Thanksgiving. I won't like it, but I'll have to accept it. We'll go to my parents for a few days, and then spend the rest of Thanksgiving weekend figuring out where to go from there. Can we start this plan of yours with you reminding me?" Nina didn't get a chance to finish her question. Logan rolled her over onto her back and pressed his body against hers while he kissed her thoroughly. When he felt her recoil under him, he quickly pulled away. "Sorry, I kind of lost myself there," he apologized. "I guess I understand now why you want to wait until my bruises are healed." Nina smiled brightly. She nudged Logan's chest and watched as he flopped onto his back. She rose above him and began kissing him again so she could control the pressure on her bruised face. Logan lovingly caressed her back while moaning in pleasure. The rest of the day and the following 2 weeks went as the couple had planned. They got together when they could and talked by phone if their schedules didn't allow them to see each other. They were able to spend a couple of dinners together, and it wasn't unusual to find one of them snuggled with the other when they awoke in the morning. Eventually, Logan and Nina were able to finalize their plans for Thanksgiving. Logan talked with his mother a couple of times, updating her with their timetable for the holiday weekend. Anna O'Shea voiced her disappointment that they would not be staying the entire weekend, but Logan promised that there would be other times. Nina took the Wednesday before Thanksgiving off, so she was packed and ready when Logan got home from his errands. They were on the road by early afternoon and would be at Logan's parents' house by dinner time. Dinner at the O'Shea house was a bit strained, punctuated by the scowl on the elder O'Shea and heavy sighs from the younger. Nina and Anna O'Shea looked on in frustration. Finally, Nina looked at Logan's mother and began a conversation that excluded the two men. The women chatted about Logan as a child, and Nina answered questions about her own childhood. When the question was asked about her healing bruises, Nina answered honestly, as she and Logan had discussed. The women ignored the men and would not let them interject any comments into their conversation. Once dinner was over, Anna O'Shea made her husband help with the dishes so that Logan could show Nina to her room. "So, this was your room, huh? It's a lot neater than I expected," quipped Nina. "I haven't lived here in close to 7 years. Logan sighed. "Look, Nina, I'm sorry about dinner. Maybe coming here was a bad idea." "No." Nina turned on her heel and closed the door. Poking her finger in Logan's chest, she continued, "You're not going to run away again. You, yourself, said that Fiona told you it was time. She didn't say it was going to be easy, did she?" Logan reluctantly shook his head. "You need to be the one to make the first move." "I tried, Nina," he complained, But he didn't even acknowledge my presence when he came home. Now you're starting to sound like a winner. Maybe I don't know you as well as I thought. Nina paused and thought for a moment. When she continued, a devilish smile grew on her face. I almost brought up Fiona at dinner tonight. That would have gotten things going, don't you think? That would not have been the best. I know. That's why I didn't say anything, yet. Here's the deal. You need to make the first move. If you don't, and soon, I will. And my move is going to be to talk about Fiona and make you and your father listen. Do you understand? You would, wouldn't you? Damn straight. Want to test me? As if daring him, Nina stood with her feet apart and arms folded across her chest. Absolutely not. Logan approached Nina and wrapped his arms around her waist. Okay, I will make an attempt to talk with him tomorrow. Mom remembers that I want to cook with Dad. You just better be nearby. He leaned down and placed a sweet kiss on her lips. You know, this could blow up in my face. I know, and I promise if it does, I will take responsibility. I'll identify your body and make sure you have a proper burial. Nina's eyes started to twinkle, and then the edges of her mouth started to rise. Logan followed suit, and soon they were both laughing. The sun shone brightly on Thanksgiving morning despite the snow that had fallen the night before. Nina was stirring in bed when she heard a light tap on her door. Yes? Oh good, you're awake. Do you mind if I come in? Anna O'Shea stuck her head in the doorway. Nina immediately welcomed her in. A few moments later, Nina heard another knock at her door. Who is it? Nina, it's Logan. Can I come in? Not right now. Why don't you go downstairs and get some breakfast? I'll be down in a couple of minutes. Okay, see you there. The women remained hushed until they no longer heard Logan's retreating steps. A few moments later, Anna O'Shea left the room with a smile on her face and returned to the kitchen. When Nina entered the kitchen 10 minutes later, she saw Logan at the table eating and reading a newspaper while his parents worked cooperatively preparing things for the big dinner. Good, you're here. Anna O'Shea clapped her hands together and proceeded to untie the apron from around her waist. What do you think you're doing, Mother? We've got work to do. Put your apron back on, commanded her husband. In a huff, Anna went to stand next to her son's girlfriend. Nina and I have decided that this thing between you two has got to stop. So we're leaving. Logan's head shot up at his mother's declaration. Nina and I are going out to breakfast. After that, we'll go shopping or take in a movie or whatever we feel like doing. And, Nina continued, we're not going to be back until 12:30 at the earliest. But, Mother, that won't leave much time for you to help me with dinner. You know I can't do this alone and have dinner ready by 1 o'clock. What do you think is going to be open, Nina? It is Thanksgiving morning. Logan added. We'll find something, even if it's just window shopping or sitting in a parking lot. Anna threw her apron into her son's lap. As far as the cooking goes, Connor, Logan will be staying here. He can help you. He is a chef, after all. It's high time you two cleared the air. I've already lost one child to terminal cancer. I won't lose the other to terminal Irish stubbornness. From the both of you, Nina added, glaring at Logan. The two women strode arm in arm to collect their coats and other winter apparel. When they left the house, they made sure to slam the door so the men knew they were gone. I guess I'll just have to cut back this year, Connor O'Shea muttered to himself, scratching the back of his head and looking over the food already laid out. I can help, Dad. I want to help. Please. Logan stood and watched his father. Connor turned and, as he opened his mouth to speak, Logan interjected softly, for Fiona. Please, don't say that name around me. Why not, Dad? Don't. You act like you're the only one hurting, Dad. But you're not. We've all lost her. Logan paused and took a breath. You lost a daughter, but I lost my twin. And yet, you continue to move ahead. Cooking of all things. Logan's eyes softened as he looked at his father. Dad, when was the last time you saw a movie in the theater? What has that got to do with anything? When, Dad? They're too damn expensive anyway. You haven't gone since Fiona, have you? I don't see what that has to do with anything. You think because I'm a chef that I don't miss Fiona every day? Dad, she's the one who pushed me to look at schools. I know, the elder O'Shea huffed. It's been so easy for you to move on since her death. Don't tell me you miss her. I do, Dad. Logan felt a tear fall down his cheek. I cooked to remember her, Dad. She believed in me. I'm cooking to keep her alive and with me. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to celebrate her. Can't you see that? Connor O'Shea's mouth opened and shut with an audible pop. He stood, frozen, looking both at his son and through him. Then he looked down and pointed to the apron Logan was holding. You don't have to wear that one. I've got a couple other plain aprons in the cupboard, there. I think I'd look pretty in these roses and ruffles, don't you think? Logan looked at his father with a straight face, but with a glint of Irish mischief in his eyes. After a second or two for the comment to sink in, both men began to laugh. When they gained control, Logan donned his mother's apron and stood by his father to receive instructions. The older man reviewed with his son the plans for the meal. He even allowed the chef to offer suggestions regarding some of the menu selections and ingredients. The jobs were divided, and the two men went to work. Most of the conversation surrounded work, both construction and cooking. After that was exhausted, Connor began to quiz his son about Nina. She wasn't really your girlfriend when we came over for dinner, was she? Well, she is a girl. Of that, I am certain. And she is my friend. Cut the crap, son. You know I don't go for that politically correct bullshit. Okay, Dad, Logan chuckled. No, we were not romantically involved at that time. We are now, though, he quickly added. There's no doubt about that. What's that supposed to mean? I'm just saying. You look at her with the same crazy puppy dog eyes I had for your mother at your age. You still do. Yeah, chuckled Connor, blushing. I guess I do. She's got spunk like Mom, too, Dad. And like Fiona. You should have heard her with me last night. You two have a tiff already? Not really. I mean, you and I have not been on the best of terms for a while. It was her idea for us to come here for Thanksgiving. She convinced me to talk with Mom about setting this up so I would cook with you this year. So, my Anna was in on this from the start? I'll have to have a talk with that woman. Don't blame Mom, Dad. There's more to this, but it's complicated. What is complicated about cooking Thanksgiving dinner? It has to do with Fiona. Okay, let's get the food in the oven and then sit down and talk. Father and son continued to work and had the food cooking, some chilling, right on schedule. They rested at the kitchen table, rejuvenating with coffee. How come you never let me cook with you, Dad? It's just not right. Why not? Because every time I think of you cooking, I think of those times you were doing it for Fiona. You knew about that? Logan looked sheepishly at the table. Yeah, we had a long talk one day. She told me. And I am proud of what you've made of yourself. I just can't bring myself to accept what's happened. Connor O'Shea's voice trailed off. He choked back a sob and wiped the wetness from his eyes with the back of his hand. Sometimes, I think I hear her talking to me. I can hear her voice inside my head as clear as I can hear your voice now, Dad. We don't have to like that she's gone, but we have to accept it so we can move on. I know. I pray every night that you'll never know the pain of having to bury one of your own children. I had to bury my twin, though, Dad. And that hurt too. Very much. So why is this so important to your girlfriend? Why do we need to get along? I'm not sure. Maybe it has to do with her not getting along with her mother. Her father died when she was young, and her mom's now remarried, but Nina doesn't get along with him. She hasn't seen her mother in almost 10 years. So we're the replacement parents? Not really. I think she realizes that this is fixable. The problems she has with her mother aren't. You're that serious about her already? Are you? What makes you say that? You told her about Fiona. Son, you haven't talked about Fiona since you left this house. You didn't talk about her much since she died, even when you were living here. I didn't want to hurt you. And me the same. We were both trying so hard to spare the other's feelings that we lost each other right after losing her. It doesn't have to stay that way, Dad. Do you think Mom would be upset if we talked about Fiona during dinner? Told Nina more about her? Your mother has been working on these photo book things for a couple years now. One about you and one about Fiona. She was always trying to get me to look at them. Maybe now's the time we both looked at them. What do you think? At exactly 12:30, Anna O'Shea and Nina returned home. When they entered and did not hear any noise in the house, they looked at each other nervously. They were starting to remove their coats when a loud bellow erupted. Damn! Both women forgot about their coats and ran to the kitchen where they stopped abruptly in the doorway. Yeah, Logan laughed, and then she started telling him off in front of the entire band. I didn't think anyone could turn that deep a shade of red. I don't know what got to him more. The fact that she was half his size, or that she was pointing out his deficiencies loud enough for the entire school to hear. What she didn't have in size, she sure made up for in spirit. Huh? Damn, laughed the elder O'Shea. I knew she was tough, but she never told me about that. It reminds me of the time your mother, interrupted the stout Irish woman. What in the Sam Hill is going on here? She demanded. Oh hi, Mother. Back already? Connor O'Shea rose from his chair and went over to kiss his wife on the cheek. Is it that time already? We'd better check on the food, son. Why don't you and Nina set the table, Mother? Logan and I will serve. Leaving his wife stunned, Connor went over to his son, slapped him on the back, and hustled to work. Both women remained in the doorway staring at each other with confused looks on their faces. Logan approached Nina and placed a quick kiss on her lips. "You better hang up your coat, Nina, and help Mom set the table. The dinner's just about ready." The women recovered enough to hang up their winter garments. Still stunned, they gathered what they needed and set the dining room table in silence. Once the table was set, Logan took Nina by the waist and whisked her into the empty living room while his father and mother continued to place food on the table. Before Nina had a chance to question anything, Logan wrapped his arms around her and kissed her hard on the mouth. When he pulled away roughly, they both were panting. "What was that for?" Nina asked, trying to steady her shaky balance. "That is the beginning of my thanking you. And there will be more where that came from." He gazed into her eyes and grazed her cheek with his fingertips. Before Nina could ask more questions, Connor O'Shea called everyone to the table. Standing behind his chair, Connor extended his hands to either side of him. Taking his cue, the other three adults held hands and bowed their heads. "Dear Lord, thank you for this special feast here before us for which we are all grateful. You know it will be filling to our hearts as well as our stomachs. Thank you for the special friends you have presented to us. They have proven to be our angels on earth." Connor paused and gave Nina's hand a quick squeeze. "And we thank you for the time you allowed our Fiona to be with us here on earth." Connor O'Shea paused again, this time to choke back a sob. "We still miss her very much. Maybe with your help we can heal and begin to celebrate her life." "Amen." Everyone echoed Connor's amen, released hands and sat in their places. Connor held up a dish and passed it to Nina. "Guests first," he invited. She took it and placed some food on her plate, then passed it along. The dishes were offered around and everyone took their fill. Tears began to fill Anna O'Shea's eyes when her husband started talking about his daughter, but the tears were soon forgotten. For the first time in a long time, there was laughter shaking the walls. Once dinner was finished and cleaned up, Connor asked his wife to bring out the photo books she had done of their children. Everyone sat around the books spread out on the table. Nina looked on quietly as the hurting O'Sheas began to heal. More stories about Fiona were told, and some embarrassing ones about Logan as well. As the afternoon wore on, the house grew silent again. Logan sat with Nina by his side, his arm draped over her shoulder, caressing her arm. Logan's parents were snuggled on the small love seat, giggling like newlyweds. "Ah, Logan," began his father, "why don't you take Nina out and show her around town? I know nothing's open, but you can still show her where a few of the places are that we talked about today." "Are you two still leaving in the morning?" asked his mother. "Yes, Mom. This is the first time in about a month that we've been able to be together. Not that this hasn't been fun," Nina interjected. "But," Logan continued, turning to Nina, "we've got some talking of our own to do when we get back." Logan stood and held out his hand for Nina. The two donned their coats and hats and left the house holding hands. When they arrived back a couple hours later, the house was dark and quiet. Logan checked upstairs while Nina searched on the first floor. When they met up in the dining room, Logan had a smile on his face. "It seems," he began, "that my reconciling with Dad has kind of helped him reconcile with Mom, if you know what I mean." He held Nina close and nuzzled her neck as she nodded her understanding. Logan decided to put together a light dinner since they had eaten so much for their big meal. He was about to call up to his parents when they strolled into the kitchen wearing their robes. "Sorry, son," his father apologized. "We went up to take a rest and slept for longer than expected." "Not a problem, Dad. I'm just putting something together for dinner. It's ready if you want to sit down." Their meal was casual and filled with continued stories from Logan's and Fiona's childhood. Nina looked over at Logan a couple of times and noticed he never stopped smiling. She even heard him whistling while doing the dishes later on. Anna O'Shea made a hearty breakfast for her son and his girlfriend in the morning. She also packed up some leftovers from the feast the day before. After they ate, and amid tearful goodbyes, Logan and Nina headed back home. As they were walking down the hall toward their apartments, they were almost run over by their neighbor. "Hey guys, happy Thanksgiving," greeted Dennis. "You too, man. You headed into work?" "Yeah, brother. You know what they say, no rest for the wicked." Dennis smiled. "Speaking of wicked, Nina, I wanted to let you know that your ex-boyfriend, Chris, won't be around for a while." "Ah, what a shame," she replied sarcastically. "It seems," continued Dennis, "that the dude has been quite busy with the ladies. They had outstanding warrants for him in 3 other cities. Each one cited multiple domestic violence and assault charges. With your charges and pictures, on top of those others, he's going to be someone's unhappy wife behind bars for a long time. Well, gotta run. Have a good day, guys. One more ghost from the past exorcised." Why don't you unpack and then come over for some leftovers and good company? I thought it was good leftovers and some company, teased Nina. Everyone's a comedian. What do you say? Sure. Give me about 30 minutes to check emails and voice messages, too. Hey. Logan stopped Nina before she entered her apartment. When she turned around, he leaned over and gave her a lingering kiss. Can you make it 15? Don't check anything, but get into something more comfortable? I'll see what I can do. Nina's husky voice made her arousal apparent. 10 minutes later, she was entering Logan's apartment. Logan came out of the kitchen just as she closed the door. I thought we could have some lunch and then talk for a while, he suggested. Nina had been standing with her back against the door until she heard Logan say lunch. That word sent Nina lunging directly toward him. By the time he said while, she was in front of him, pulling his mouth down to hers. As soon as she felt his lips touch hers, Nina used her tongue to gain entrance to Logan's mouth. She wrapped her arms as tightly as she could around Logan's shoulders until she felt his arms snake around her back. It didn't take long for Logan to respond to Nina's kiss. His arms wrapped around her tightly, their breaths growing heavier as the moment intensified. Logan lifted Nina slightly onto her toes, deepening their connection. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard and feeling unsteady. As Logan began to speak, Nina gently placed 2 fingers over his lips, silencing him. She reached back to take his hand and led him toward the bedroom. Sitting him on the edge of the bed, she took a few steps back. Slowly, she unzipped the sweatshirt she was wearing, keeping her eyes locked on his as she parted the fabric. See, no more bruises there, she said softly. And I can hardly tell there's anything on my face. She stepped closer and let the sweatshirt slip from her shoulders. I think we can find something better to do than talk, don't you? We've got the rest of our lives for that. Logan reached out, his fingers lightly brushing over her shoulder. He smiled when he noticed her sharp intake of breath. Nina leaned forward, resting her head against his chest, her breath soft against his skin. After a moment, Logan gently pulled back, guiding Nina's face to meet his gaze. He pressed a tender kiss to her forehead. Breaking the moment, he turned and pulled the bedcovers down. Facing her once more, he lifted her into his arms and carefully laid her in the center of the bed. After removing his jacket, Logan joined her, and the room filled with a quiet, comforting closeness. Nina, I don't want to move too fast, Logan said softly when he pulled away. What do you consider too fast? She chuckled. We've been home 30 minutes and already in bed. That's not what I mean, he sighed. I don't want to overwhelm you. I really care about you. I just think we should take things slow. Logan, I can handle it, Nina replied with a warm smile. They spent the evening wrapped in each other's arms, the connection between them deepening. Afterward, Logan managed to pull the covers over them, and both drifted into sleep within minutes. The next morning, they lingered in bed, sharing quiet conversation and laughter before heading to the shower. Once cleaned up and dressed, they made their way to the kitchen for a late lunch. After clearing the dishes, Nina and Logan settled on the sofa in his living room. So, where do we go from here, G? Logan asked. I still don't think we need to worry about that until after the holidays. What about the holidays? Won't you be busy at the restaurant? Nina, I'm not going to be working all the time, Logan said, pausing to pull Nina onto his lap. I'm going to make time for you. I want to. He nuzzled her neck, making her laugh softly. Between school and work, I just don't know, Nina sighed. A little higher, please. Logan obliged, letting his fingers trail gently up her neck. Okay, let's start with the basics. Logan sat up straighter, his tone more serious now. We're a couple. Yes. An exclusive couple. Definitely. Partners? Most certainly. I think, for now, we can continue like we were before Thanksgiving. I like waking up with you next to me. I agree. But it would also be nice to fall asleep next to you, too. If I knew you were with me, there'd be no guarantee either of us would get much sleep, Logan teased, making Nina blush. Does the restaurant have a holiday party? She asked, changing the subject. Yes. I'll check with Mike about the date. When's the one for your office? Oh, next weekend, I think. I'll need to double check. Let me know as soon as you can, and I'll ask for time off. What about the holiday itself? Nina asked. I haven't spent Christmas with my mom and dad for a while, for obvious reasons. Depending on your schedule, maybe we can visit them this year? That would be great. Maybe we could even find time to visit your mom. That's not a great idea. I told you, Logan. I'm not going back while she's married to him. I understand, Nina, but we're together now. There's no way he'd try anything with me around. We wouldn't have to stay overnight, just a couple of hours. Logan held her tighter. What about having dinner at the restaurant? It's public, and people will be around. If he tries anything, someone will notice. Let me think about it, Logan. But there's no guarantee. That's all I ask. Just think about it. Why is this so important to you? Why was it important that my dad and I reconciled? You really seemed like you wanted to. You were hurting by not having that connection to your parents. I'm not hurting that much by not having the connection with my mother. She made her choice and she chose him. Okay, well then, consider it a chance to close that chapter of your life for good. You can tell her you're getting your master's, and you've got a good life, and you hope she has a good life, too. We'll see. Before Logan could continue his argument, Nina distracted him with a heated kiss. When Logan returned from work Tuesday night, Nina was waiting up in his apartment. Hey Nina, what's up? What do you mean? I thought you'd like that I was here. Oh, I do. Logan pulled Nina into his arms and planted a heated kiss on her lips. However, it's pretty late, and I expected to see you in my bed, not on my sofa. I called my mother tonight. Oh, hold that thought. Logan locked his door and turned off the lights. He kept his arm around Nina as they silently walked to his bedroom. Logan placed Nina in bed and quickly joined her after removing his clothes. He pulled her into his arms and gently caressed her back. Okay, what happened? I told her I was getting my master's. Good. And she asked how much that would cost her. She asked if I had a boyfriend. And what did you say? I told her I did, and she told me she wouldn't be able to help if we decided to get married. Oh, and she wanted to know if there were any rugrats in the picture yet. Really? She didn't say it like that, did she? Yes, Logan, she did. Nina paused to snuggle closer to him. In spite of everything, I did invite her and Hal to dinner at the restaurant. Since your party is a week from Friday, I chose the Sunday afternoon after that so I wouldn't spoil the fun memory I'm expecting to have from your party with the memory of the luncheon. That's fine. What did your mother say? She reminded me that since I invited them that I would be picking up the tab. When I agreed, so did she. I'm sorry, sweetie, I didn't realize. Don't worry, Logan. If nothing else, this will give me closure. You were right. I'm feeling better about this decision. I mean, I really don't think there will be any surprises. And once we're done, we're done. I'll be able to move on with a clean slate. Nina raised her head and kissed Logan passionately on the lips. What's wrong? I just don't get it. I mean, how can a mother treat her only child like that? And you're so complacent. How can you accept this so calmly? Look, Logan, I didn't have the storybook family life that you had growing up. I used to wish it were different, sure. Who wouldn't under those circumstances? Maybe if things had changed after all this time, I would feel guilty about being away so long. But since things obviously haven't changed, I don't feel bad about avoiding that part of my life. I'm not that girl anymore. Nina reached over and pulled Logan to her for another kiss. She could feel him losing a little control, but Logan was still holding back. Promise me something. Anything. Nina sat up and turned her back to Logan. As she removed her shirt, she continued. If we do stay together, we work at living our life like the one you had growing up, not the one I had. She knelt on the bed and slowly pulled her shorts and panties down to her knees. She leaned forward on all fours, turned back to look at Logan and asked, Okay, do you think you can make me agree with you just by displaying your assets? He asked. I can try, can't I? She started teasing Logan. When he could take no more, they made love. Wow, baby. Nina slapped Logan's bare chest as they settled back under the covers. He then kissed her lips thoroughly and then turned off the light. Logan escorted Nina to her company Christmas party that Friday evening. Her friends and co-workers were delighted to meet the man who had lifted Nina to a cheerful holiday spirit. All eyes remained on the couple as they danced the night away. And an office wager began on how long the couple would take before getting married. Mike and the others had the same response when they finally met Nina at the restaurant's Christmas party a week later. So that's Nina, huh? How did you get so lucky? Teased Mike when he cornered Logan at the bar. I don't know, man, but I'm not asking questions. She's your neighbor, right? Yeah, that's how we met. Get this? We both moved into our apartments on the very same weekend. It didn't make sense not introducing ourselves. We bumped into each other often enough. Why did it take so long to ask her out, then? It's not like you had to go searching. I know. It just got complicated. We became such good friends I didn't want to risk it. So, what's changed now? Honestly, I couldn't tell you. All I know is her ex-boyfriend and my twin sister finally set these wheels in motion. I'm not even going to pretend to understand what you just said. However, you'd better get your wheels in motion before O'Malley goes and steals your girl. Mike chuckled as he watched Logan push through the groups to return to his date before the restaurant's playboy made his move. Hey, Tommy, you better keep your hands off my girl, or you'll be pulling the most unpopular station in the kitchen for the next 3 years, threatened Logan. Tommy spun on his heels and almost knocked the drinks from Logan's hands. Sorry, boss. No, it's not like that. I was just keeping her company so no one else would make a move on her, he stammered. Logan started laughing at the young man's discomfort. Just you remember, she's mine? Yes, boss. No problem. Tommy moved through the crowd quickly. Logan looked over his shoulder at Mike and winked at the older man at the bar while he laughed. Nina tried to keep her mind busy on Saturday by studying for her finals. Logan didn't have to work, but he had errands to run, so Nina stayed at home. When her mind wandered to the luncheon with her mother, scheduled for the next day, Nina would walk around her apartment and touch anything that reminded her of Logan. Once she had the object in her grasp, Nina allowed the warmth of its memory to flow through her. She was then able to return to her desk and concentrate for a little while longer. Sunday finally came. Nina, it's okay. It's just your mother. Logan tried to console his nervous state. Just my mother and her lech of a husband. I'm not sure I can go through with this, Logan, she whined. Do I look okay? You look beautiful, baby. Logan leaned over and kissed Nina's lips before he held the restaurant door open for her. You tried on 3 different outfits and they all looked great on you. Now relax, everything will be fine. Easy for you to say. Nina mumbled under her breath while she plastered a forced and fake smile on her face. There they are, she announced to Logan through gritted teeth. Logan led Nina over to the table and greeted Nina's mother and her husband. Nina's mother planted an air kiss on her daughter's cheek in greeting. When Hal moved to embrace her, Nina quickly moved out of his reach. Logan held Nina's chair out and seated her next to her mother before excusing himself. If you would permit me, he explained, I've already ordered the meal for us. Nina told me what you both like to eat, so I instructed the cook staff earlier. I just need to make sure everything is ready. Nina watched as Logan strode away from the table. Her hands were wringing in her lap. So, what's that all about? He think he's better than us, or what? Nina glared at the man sitting across from her. Logan is the head chef at this restaurant, Hal. He's doing what he can to make this a pleasant time for all of us. He better not try to slip any of those hoity-toity dishes by me. He's not that type, Hal. How long have you known this man, Nina? Her mother asked. Since I moved into my apartment, Mom. He lives across the hall. He seems like a nice young man. He is. He's been very supportive while I've been working on my master's. Is he boinking you yet? Gee, Hal, you really know how to say the right thing. Nina didn't hide the sarcasm in her tone. Before Hal could say anything more, Logan returned to the table. Nina was relieved when the food arrived shortly after that. Hal stayed quiet while he ate his steak, so Nina used the time to catch up with her mother. Logan winced a couple of times while listening to the polite but impersonal conversation. When the plates were removed, coffee and dessert was served to the table. So, Larry, what are your intentions toward our daughter? Asked Hal. It's Logan, Hal, Nina reminded. And I'm not your daughter. Whatever. I still have a right to know his intentions. Well, Hal, I'm glad you asked, actually. Logan pushed his chair away from the table and turned to look at Nina. Nina, you know that I'm better with food than words. But I was wondering if you'd let me cook for you for the rest of our lives. Will you marry me? Nina's hands covered her mouth as tears began to fill her eyes. The restaurant became quiet all of a sudden. Logan reached into his pocket and produced an antique-looking box. When he opened it, he knelt before Nina and presented her with a modest diamond on an intricately designed band. Nina took a deep breath and brought her hands away from her mouth. She opened it, trying to speak, but all she could do was nod her head. Logan placed the ring on Nina's finger and then pulled her face to his. When his lips connected with hers, the restaurant erupted in applause. Nina slowly pulled away from Logan's face. It's too bad your parents couldn't be here. Actually, they were going to try, Logan said while sitting back on his chair. But Mom wasn't feeling too well, so they stayed home. We've got the next best thing, though. Logan held out his hand, and Mike appeared with a small video camera. Mike taped this for us so we can show Mom and Dad at Christmas. Nina smiled broadly and looked down at her hand. She moved her fingers as if to test to see if the ring would fall off. She held her hand up and then over for her mother to see. You'll be invited to the wedding, of course, Logan announced to the stunned older couple at the table. But just in case you won't be able to make it, I thought you should see Nina get engaged at least. Where did you get this ring, Logan? It's beautiful. It's perfect. Mom and Dad sent it. Consider it Fiona's gift. Nina couldn't stop smiling. When she looked down at the ring again, she also glanced at her watch. Look at the time. It's getting late, Mom. I remember you telling me you didn't want to be on the road after dark, So you guys had better get going, and I've got to get back to study. We'll let you know when the wedding will be. Don't worry, I know you won't be able to help pay for anything. The foursome rose from the table and Nina hugged her mother. Logan shook Hal's hand and then kissed his future mother-in-law's cheek. As they were leaving the table, Logan placed his arm protectively around his fiancée and walked between her and Hal. When the foursome left the restaurant, nothing was said as one couple turned left and the other turned right. Nina could barely concentrate on her studies, but Logan did his best to keep her focused. Once her last exam was finished, the couple headed toward the O'Shea house and a stress-free holiday. Connor O'Shea greeted his son and his fiancée with warm hugs when they arrived. "Where's Mom, Dad?" "She's resting right now, son. She's got the flu or something. It just keeps hanging on, but she says she's feeling better and wants to see you too when she gets up." Anna O'Shea was downstairs in time for dinner. She welcomed Nina into her family and into her arms for a warm hug before inspecting the ring on her finger. "I'm not surprised it fit you, dear. It was my mother's, and her mother's before that. It was to go to Fiona, but I know that she would want you to have it. You've brought my family back together just like my Fiona would have." Anna did nothing to hide her tears of joy. After dinner, Logan produced the video camera and set it up to show his parents the proposal. Mike had taken footage during the meal as well. Connor had nothing good to say about Hal and stopped short of insulting Nina's mother when his wife tapped his hand. When the elder O'Sheas watched their only son present his intended with the ring, they both began to cry again. The holiday visit passed quickly. When the young couple said goodbye, every eye was wet. Logan and Nina drove home in silence. Nina stayed at Logan's apartment that night. He made love to her with all the passion he felt. The couple fell into a deep sleep quickly. During the night, Logan woke with a start. He could feel his Fiona with him again. In his head, he heard her voice. "She's at peace." Logan sat up in bed and looked over at his nightstand. He stared at his phone, and within seconds, it rang. With a quick glance at the caller ID, he answered it. "Hi, Dad." Nina woke when the phone rang and watched her lover's expressions by the light from the handset. "I understand, Dad. I can be there after breakfast, if that's soon enough. If not, I'll leave now." Logan sighed as a lone tear ran its course down his cheek. "Don't worry about that, Dad. I have time coming. Mike will understand." Logan reached for Nina's hand and laced his fingers with hers. "I'll give her the option, but I'm sure she'll want to come too. Dad, don't worry about it. Everything will be okay. I'll be there soon. I love you." Logan replaced the phone in its cradle and stared off into the darkness for a few moments. He slouched in the bed and pulled Nina into his arms. As he caressed her side, his tears flowed steadily. That was Dad, Nina. He woke up and Mom had died in her sleep. Nina clung to Logan, and they both cried openly. 2 hours later, they were showered and dressed and on their way back to Logan's childhood home. Logan helped his father arrange for the funeral. Despite it being so close after the holidays, the church was full with family and friends wanting to say goodbye to Anna O'Shea. The graveside service was private, for family only. Connor O'Shea had his wife laid to rest next to his daughter. Logan stayed by his side, allowing the older man to cling to his son in sorrow. Reluctantly, Logan and Nina headed back to their home, leaving Connor O'Shea alone in the house for the first time in over 30 years. With Logan's constant encouragement, Nina was able to finish her master's thesis and had it approved by the committee. Connor O'Shea was invited to her graduation, as was her mother and Hal. Connor stood proudly next to his son as Nina received her degree. The 2 seats next to Logan remained empty. With the onset of summer, Logan and Nina began their wedding plans. Both decided they wanted a simple wedding, nothing too extravagant. They agreed on a ceremony at a local chapel with the reception at the restaurant. Nina sent her mother an invitation, but the woman indicated she was unable to attend. With Dennis and his wife Sarah as best man and matron of honor, Nina asked her future father-in-law to escort her down the aisle. With tears in his eyes, he accepted. All the wedding plans fell into place for Nina. On that Saturday in mid-October, the sun shone brightly and the temperature rose to unseasonably warm, but still comfortable. There was not a dry eye during the ceremony, and the reception was a glorious celebration of life and love. "Come in," Nina called in response to the quiet tapping on her door. "Ready for dinner?" Without waiting for a reply, Logan brought the food into the room and began placing it on the table. "You're going to keep me fat," Nina complained. "You are not fat. You are healthy. Even the doctor said so." Logan sat on the bed and gently pulled his wife into his arms for a loving kiss. When they broke the kiss, Logan paused to rest his forehead on Nina's. He chuckled when he heard a tiny whimper. "Sounds like it's someone else's dinner time, too." I thought babies were supposed to be on their own schedule, not ours, complained Nina, smiling despite herself. You, sit and eat. I'll change the baby. Logan moved the table over to Nina before heading to the tiny bundle in the bassinet. Your father called today. Nina began between mouthfuls. Oh, this is good. How did you smuggle it past the guards? Is this a new dish? Yes, I'm thinking about featuring it next week as the special. Logan cuddled his daughter to his chest as he brought her to her mother. What did my dad want? Actually, he was a little riled with the baby's name. Even more when I explained how we came up with it. Nina placed her fork on her plate while lifting up her shirt for her fussing child. The baby latched onto her mother's breast and began suckling contentedly. What's wrong with her name? You said you liked it. I do. But, you have to admit, Fiona Masters O'Shea is an unusual name. I think it's beautiful, just like my daughter and her mother. Thank you, Logan. I love you. I love you too. How did you explain the baby's name to Dad? Logan picked at the food on his plate. I told him what happened. We couldn't decide on a name for a boy or girl, so we each chose a name and sealed it in an envelope. When the child was born, we opened the appropriate envelope and that was the name. I chose Fiona and you chose Masters. Which, by the way, I noticed you also placed in the boy's envelope. If you hadn't been focused on your Masters, we would have just stayed friends and neighbors. That's all I meant. Logan leaned over to his wife and gave her an apologetic kiss on the cheek. I'll call Dad tonight and have a chat with him. No need. He's coming up this weekend to meet his granddaughter. You'll have the whole weekend to sort it out. Nina laughed when she heard her husband groan. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.